Warning.
Hi everybody, my name is Pacific Peach, I'm 22 years old, I'm almost a married woman, and my personality has always been a little bit polar and a little bit obsessive. In high school, I was known for being someone who hated everything, which secretly devastated me. I actually loved a lot of things, but never what seemed to be popular. I loved what I loved, and whatever I did not love often found its way into my personal hated category. It's not even that I hated the piece, it's just that I was so pissed off that it was popular when I thought that there were so many better things to praise. Maybe it was anger at myself. I wanted to get it, but I didn't, and that was frustrating. Here's a short but not complete list of pop culture pieces that have found their way onto my hate list. Hamilton, Bird Box, A Quiet Place, every Disney live action, Stranger Things after season 1, Taylor Swift with the exception of 1989, sports, the Pentatonix rendition of White Winter Hymnal, and Shane Dawson's first makeup palette, which, looking back, I was totally right on all along. People assumed I was totally negative all the time because I didn't seem to like anything, which was simply untrue. The fact is, I'm hard to please, but when I find something I love, I don't let it go. In high school, I loved Fleet Foxes, Fall Out Boy, Spamalot, Matilda the Musical, Newsies, My Teenage Wedding, courtesy of YouTube.com, Undertale, God is Grey, A Religious Scholar, which will be important later, Conan Gray, circa 2017, Kermit the Frog, Choir, except for Eric Whitacre, he's on my hate list too, Captain America, old Disney movies, Vaporwave, but not the weird Bart Simpson skater boy with two eyes kind, the 1990s whimsigoth aesthetic, and like many high schoolers in the late 2010s, important videos. Yeah, that was funny. Don't get me wrong, I didn't like any of these things with an intentional attempt to be different, but I did think, people, Fleet Foxes is so good, why are you hung up on Taylor Swift? I always felt disconnected. I wanted to fit in, but it just wasn't natural to me. I loved what I liked and I hated what I didn't. My interest polarized me from my peers and I had difficulty making friends over it. Looking back, it sounds ridiculous, but it is true. It wasn't until 2020 that I noticed my obsessive habits begin to take over. That was the year I finally felt normal. Just like everybody else, I was going crazy in my house. So crazy, in fact, that I uploaded a video of me crying and begging people to stay inside to my YouTube profile with like maybe 60 subscribers. Thankfully, a common coping mechanism found its way to me. Of course, escapism. And no, we haven't reached the point of the Jokers yet, but stay with me, we will get there. There were 4 things I could not get enough of in the early days of lockdown. Mystic Messenger, Ouran High School Host Club, Doja Cat, and Nicki Minaj. Every day I would wake up, open chat rooms, make TikToks about the chat rooms, bike between the chat rooms, eat meals between the chat rooms, and watch an episode or 2 of Ouran before bed. Mystic Messenger routes take at most 11 days, and Ouran only has 26 20-minute episodes. From late March to early September, my life was Mystic Messenger, Pink Pop Rap, and Ouran on repeat. The same 11 days and 26 20-minute episodes. I'm not sure if this is shocking to anyone, but this useless routine did help me feel normal. In the early days of lockdown, I lost all sense of time, purpose, or ability to do anything. These 4 new things all brought me something to look forward to during a difficult time. Mystic Messenger helped me keep track of time and deal with loneliness, the ladies helped me motivated to keep active, and I ended every day doing something I really liked. The pandemic couldn't get me down if I didn't recognize it. Or so I thought. Soon after, it was time for me to move off to college, but public safety measures were in place. I had to be isolated in my room for 2 weeks upon arrival, and when that was over, I could only have 2 friends over at a time. Before moving, I was aware that my habits were a little bit self-destructive, but I remained hopeful that they would go away once I moved and made friends. It did happen eventually, but with these safety measures, I was not able to develop solid friendships until early spring. Mystic Messenger phased out of my life. I wasn't lonely anymore, but Ouran never went away. Some evenings I recognized I didn't even want to watch Ouran, but I knew that if I didn't, I'd feel uncomfortable when I went to sleep. The kind of discomfort you have when you're about to go to bed and realize you forgot to do something really important. I had this feeling throughout my entire first year of college, my first summer of college, and the first 2 months of sophomore year. That's when I made the decision to become a religious studies minor. Once again, something that's confusing to the average person had gained complete control of my attention. I took my studies so seriously that I began to relate to the Martin Luther while I was studying for my Christian Reformation final. Martin Luther would lay awake at night for several evenings in a row, feeling guilt over sins he'd commit, knew he would commit in the future, and sins he had already commit but forgotten about. While some part of me recognized that this was an illogical feeling, I couldn't help but do the same. This new sense of shame and dread led me to experiencing an episode of religious psychosis, but I didn't recognize that until later. I felt what I thought was the Holy Spirit calling me to do things that were self-destructive and incomprehensible. I didn't want to see friends, go to class, or even leave my room. I would do these things anyway so no one would catch on, but not without coming home and crying about doing them after. I didn't seek help because I knew someone would call me crazy, and I didn't want to hear it. The freakish feelings got so bad I temporarily broke up with my boyfriend just so I could figure out what the hell was wrong with me. And, dear listener, you've had to wait so long before getting to the point of this video, so I will give you one quick answer. We did get back together after a couple of days, engaged last summer, and are 5 months away from being married. That being said, I finally got to a point where I would let myself seek help. The therapist I saw told me I should consider transferring back to my hometown. My friendships weren't as strong as they were the year before, the newness of my college town was wearing off, and I realized it totally sucked. And I spent every day missing my friends who never moved away. All signs pointed to me going home, which was such a hopeful thought I almost forgot why I was transferring to begin with. Ultimately, it was the right decision. I love my job, I love being close to all my friends and relatives, and while I wasn't obsessed with my new school, I certainly preferred my hometown to my old college town. The academic year of 2022 to 2023 was mentally boring, and I could not have been happier. I was so happy with myself for healing that the new warning signs from the summer of 2023 didn't stick out to me. Sleeping became really difficult out of nowhere. I was convinced that as soon as I fell asleep, my body would stop breathing and die. The logical part of my brain tried to take over and force my body into sleep, but whatever part of me that was scared would force my body to wake up right as I would enter deep sleep. This went on for several months, and I did everything I could to determine why. At the time, I was working as a summer orientation leader for incoming students. I was given a dorm room on the 4th floor with a window that did not open. In my attempt to prove that I was still normal, I discovered that heat can increase anxiety and reduce sleep quality. To make myself feel better, I told myself this was the cause. My body continued fighting itself into sleep. The longer this went on, the weirder my dreams got. I remember a recurring one of me eating glass. I ignored this. It was just because my room is hot, I would tell myself. Finally, I moved out and began sleeping normally again. Whether or not the justification of a hot room was real or not meant nothing to me. I was happy to be better again. Except I wasn't. Not really. My sleeping improved, but those negative dreams didn't go anywhere. Now they bugged me when I was awake. For months, I felt like someone was watching me and stalking me, waiting for an opportunity to break into my house and kill me. The glass dream never left my head and morphed into thoughts of severe acts of self-harm I didn't want to think about. I don't want to share great details to spare the thoughts from the minds of others, but it did get to a point where when I went over to other people's houses, I'd have to ask them to hide certain objects. I don't think I'd ever considered doing the behavior in real life, but I didn't want to think about it in the first place. These kinds of thoughts continued for a year and a half. They didn't necessarily get easier for me to deal with, but I did come to terms with the fact that I likely struggle with intrusive thoughts, and I started taking them less personally. This was not a moral failure or reflection of my character as I initially worried, just a lapse in my personal mental communication. Occasionally, other thoughts are able to turn off the freak thoughts for a while. The stresses and joys of the holiday season are prime examples. Christmas Eve is one of my favorite holidays, even more than Christmas. But I've rambled so much already, I don't want to bore you with any more details. The fact is, I was miserable on the day I'd been looking forward to for months. Christmas Eve 2024 was the first time I'd ever slept on the couch on Christmas Eve. I was on my parents' couch, sick out of my mind, and convinced a NyQuil would only make it worse. While trying to find the perfect Rankin and Bass movie to fall asleep to, I found Impractical Jokers through the search engine. I asked my dad if he had ever seen the show, to which he replied, "No, they are nothing but assholes." Of course I had heard of this show, but I never watched it myself. When we had cable, I probably wouldn't have been allowed to watch it, and when we got rid of cable, I wouldn't have known where to find it. I laughed at my dad's statement before going to sleep to Santa Claus is Coming to Town, our favorite movie. The next day was going to be better. It had to be. I received plenty of thoughtful gifts from my family members, but no gift was better than seeing my family's eyes light up at the things I'd carefully picked for them. Not to brag or nothing, but I'm an excellent gift giver. Whatever. Just as I was starting to get better, I got worse. I was exhausted, in pain, and decided that this Christmas would just have to be a short one. As soon as I got comfortable at home, the fever I insisted I did not have made itself evident. This is just like Beth March, I would say to myself, trying to make myself laugh and forget that I was sad about being sick on my second favorite day of the year. It was clear that I would never achieve a good temperature to go to sleep, so I decided to watch a show. Despite my dad's disdain, I figured everybody else and their mama loves Impractical Jokers. I could use a distraction from the fact that I'm missing out on my two favorite things, my grandma's pumpkin pie and spending time with others. For once, I trusted the opinion of the masses. I was instantly hooked.
That's right, I'm the sentimental one.
Me too, Q. I'm not sure if it was the sentimental sadness that's hidden deep in my heart, longing for family on a holiday, a moment of mental weakness from a fever, or a cocktail of all three, but I was getting emotional. Their jokes were funny, bonds unbreakable, and their friendship was pure. When I first heard the words Joker versus Joker on Christmas Day, I cried. I was so happy for them. They were just friends who get to be jokers. Like, wow, is there anything more beautiful? And in that moment, I did not think so. I had to call out of work the next day to comply with the fever's contagious period of 24 hours, but I didn't mind. This time, I could watch the jokers all day with a clearer mind. After 2 days together, we were inseparable. And this was my first mistake. I would be lying if I said that there was no part of me that regrets starting the show. I'm writing this on February 2nd, and I have already developed a significant obsession. I was sick again shortly after New Year's, and part of me was excited to have another full day off to exclusively watch Impractical Jokers. I watched it while I got ready in the mornings, on my break periods, and after work. I joked that I was just 14 years behind and I needed some time to catch up. Despite my status as an engaged woman, I panic-saved at least 30 edits of Q to my phone, just in case TikTok went away permanently. This was my second mistake. After engaging so much with clips and edits on TikTok, I soon got snippets of them talking about their lives before the show. I got emotional again because for once I saw myself in crazy popular media. Don't get me wrong, I couldn't ignore the insane work of Charlie XCX and Chapel Roan this summer, but I'm not a lesbian or a party girl. And while I can adore them from the sidelines, I don't see myself, which isn't a complaint, but it does make my experience and enjoyment a little bit different. The show made it clear that they met in their Catholic high school, but these clips included old footage of them rehearsing in basements and creating really shitty YouTube videos after college. As someone who went to Catholic school and later found a creative partner and a high school friend, this really hit home for me. And yes, I've practiced in many basements and crafted my own fair share of awful YouTube videos, including, but not limited to, this one. It's just so exciting to see someone you admire in the exact same position you are right now. After watching the show on repeat for a solid 3 weeks, I had an epiphany. I hadn't had an obsessive negative thought in weeks. This is way better than my past record of 2 days. I stopped being embarrassed about this interest. While this phase has the potential to be annoying to others, I think I speak for everyone significant in my life when I say that me being a little bit verbally annoying is significantly better than silently dealing with the mental distress I was before. Now let's go back to this idea of embarrassment. The jokers have next to none, and that's why they're beloved American figures. I may not be going out and promising anybody a good old-fashioned fucking. I have been inspired to just go out and do the things I've wanted to do for years. Seeing the lack of care the average New Yorker has to some guy being off-putting in Central Park has acted as exposure therapy to me. For years, I've been embarrassed about my band, my writing, and my abnormal sense of style. But seriously, who cares? I have been so self-conscious about the things I want to achieve to the point that it prohibits me from trying at all. I keep my writing, video ideas, and jokes to myself just to keep them out of the ears of people who may dislike them. And let's be serious, people. How many people are going to loudly dislike me? Let's ignore the one time people were overwhelmingly negative about a Pacific Cools video here. In the last week, I've caught myself taking more risks in my personal and creative endeavors. I've written a children's book, an outline for a kid's YouTube show, my first video essay, which is this one if you care, something I've been putting off for years now, and made significantly more jokes with my friends. This last one is a big step for me. I'm not sure if any proof of my humor will be found in this relatively serious video, but I have allowed myself to spew out more jokes than ever before, and people are enjoying them with me. I think women are told we aren't funny, which isn't true. We're told to police ourselves and not even try unless there's a guaranteed landing, which causes us to not try at all. Most men don't typically have this forced filter. I've had plenty of men word vomit onto me and insist it's funny, when it wasn't. Funny women also don't label themselves as comedians. I laugh at Wendy Williams all day long, but she's not known for a role as a comedian. It's an extra skill in her hosting abilities. Why'd you let me get off topic? Let's go back. The truth is, people tell you for years that anything is achievable if you keep trying. If you just don't give up, then things will go your way. And it's hard to hear this message on repeat as a young artist. It's hard to feel like you've earned your confidence, and it's hard to keep going when it seems there's a dead end. Keyword, here. The jokers didn't tell me this secret. They showed it to me. They wanted something and they kept going. At the risk of failure, embarrassment, and nothingness, they kept going. I entered adulthood at the peak of COVID. I felt like the fun part of my life was over before it even had a chance to start. I've been miserable all of my short adult life because of the lackluster circumstances. However, watching friends achieve their goals together and enjoy themselves at more than double my age for once makes me believe it's not over and there is hope for joy and creativity in my future. This is not to say I'm going to allow myself to use Impractical Jokers as a permanent solution to my fears, thoughts, or lack of motivation. But the amount of goals I've allowed myself to complete in the past 3 weeks has impressed even myself, a famously tough critic. I've been so hung up on concepts not being perfect within my head that I limit them from even seeing paper. I wouldn't dare craft a rough outline because that would only reveal what's wrong with everything I do. And that hasn't been the case for several weeks. My unwanted obsession with Impractical Jokers has made me do a lot of soul searching. Why did I want to spend every evening watching 4 lifelong friends compete to embarrass each other? Why am I so emotionally invested? And why can't I stop thinking about 38-year-old Brian Quinn? By attempting to find the answers to these questions, I found answers to new ones too. I have a better understanding of the thoughts that never leave, my personal fears, and the root of my creative embarrassment. I know so much more about myself, and I could have never predicted that this new self-security would have come from a show that aired almost 14 years ago. But I will forever be grateful to my unlikely heroes, Sickness, Obsession, and the Impractical Jokers. This video was a little bit of a mess, it was a little bit of a ramble, but there is one thing I just have to say before I'm all done, before I finish this video. It's not on topic, but it is. I'm so genuinely amazed with how, I don't know, is timeless the right word their humor is? It transcends generations, which seems to be a very difficult thing to do, especially today. You know, like there are things that are like, oh, this is Gen X humor, this is Gen Z humor, this is blah, 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 blah. Or like, you know, like when your parents show you old movies they loved and you're like, this sucks, Mom. This is not a good movie, I can't believe. It's their ability, I know boomers that love them, I know Gen Alpha that loves them. Everybody loves them. That's so difficult. Also, I have been saying for years that Gen X is the funniest generation and nobody believes me, so, Exhibit A, why are you people arguing with me? They're like Snoopy. The Impractical Jokers are like Snoopy. Write that down. Beloved by everybody, for the most part, like across generations, across ages, across There are a couple people individually who choose not to like them. Just like people who individually are sick of seeing Snoopy. That's different. But every generation that is alive right now loves Snoopy. And I think the same thing can be said for the Impractical Jokers. Does anybody see what I'm saying? Does anybody get me? Thank you so much for watching this video. This was a lot of fun for me to make, actually, so if you want to hear me ramble some more, I'm a niche interest queen. I'm gonna keep on. Anyways, sorry, that was bad. I really liked writing this, recording and like making the video, not so much, and I think you can maybe tell, but that's okay. I did have fun, and I'm going to continue. So continue with me? ? And if not, I understand. I'm using Canva and Audacity and my iPhone X. Okay, this is not personal. If you thought this video was like so technically bad that you just can't bear to watch, I understand. And this is where we part ways, and this is where I say, even if you hated this, I thank you for watching all the way through. Because you are a trooper. Okay, thank you. If you did like anything in this video, I do hope it is the music that was playing in the background, because this is music from my band that I briefly mentioned in this video. Some of this music is out now, some of this music is going to be released later. I'll put a link here to the one song on this little video that is already available for streaming. It's called Swerve. But yeah, let's do this. I'm Pacific Peach, let's do this together, yeah?